Did you know New Mexico is sitting on a supervolcano that once buried Iowa in ash? Or that there is a cave in the middle of the desert where the ice never melts, even when it is 100 degrees outside? How about the fact that the entire state is slowly tearing itself in half right now, and almost nobody living there has any idea? Well, there is a lot more to New Mexico than deserts, adobe, and green Chile. Look a little closer and you will find it sitting on top of some of the most violent, ancient, and genuinely bizarre geology anywhere in North America. And today we are breaking down 20 facts that will completely change how you see the Land of Enchantment. Let us get into it. Fact 20. The mountains that aren't the Rockies. Everyone who looks at the mountains towering over Albuquerque assumes they're the southern tail of the Rocky Mountains. They aren't. The Sandia Mountains only started rising somewhere between 5 and 10 million years ago, which makes them geological newborns compared to the ranges around them, and they're not part of the Rockies at all. They were shoved upward by an entirely different force, a crack in the continent that we'll get to before this list is over. The most photographed skyline in New Mexico is a young mountain that got lifted by something most people have never heard of. Fact 19. The lava that's newer than the pyramids. People picture volcanic rock as something impossibly ancient. Not here. In the Badlands of western New Mexico, some of the lava flows are only around 3,000 years old. And at the Valley of Fires, the youngest eruptions have been dated to roughly 1,500 to 2,000 years ago. That means humans were living in this region, farming and building, while the ground nearby was still molten. When Spanish explorers rode across this jagged black wasteland, they took one look and named it El Malpais, the Badlands. Some of the rock in New Mexico is younger than the Roman Empire. Fact 18. The underground network nobody has finished exploring. When lava cools on the outside but keeps flowing underneath, it drains away and leaves a hollow tube behind. New Mexico has these on a scale nowhere else in the country can match. Beneath the El Malpais lava field runs a system of underground tubes stretching roughly 17 miles, the longest network of its kind in the continental United States, with some sections dating back around 115,000 years. Miles of hollow rock corridors thread underneath the desert floor. Drivers on the highway above have no idea the ground below them is honeycombed. Fact 17. The cave where ice never melts. Everything you know about desert heat breaks down here. Inside a collapsed lava tube near Grand sits a chamber where the temperature never climbs above 31 degrees Fahrenheit, no matter what the surface is doing. Outside, it can hit 100 degrees, and the ice inside doesn't care. The floor holds a mass of ice roughly 20 feet thick, and researchers have determined it's been building up in layers for more than 3,400 years. Strangest of all, the ice glows blue-green, colored by Arctic algae living on its surface in the middle of the New Mexico desert. Volcanic rock created a natural freezer that has held for over 3,000 years. Without failing once. Fact 16. The people who burned fires to drink. Here is the part of that story most people never hear. Long before refrigeration existed, ancient Puebloan people were already using these frozen lava tubes, and archaeologists found the evidence written in charcoal. Research led by a team from the University of South Florida uncovered charred material inside the caves, showing that between roughly 150 AD and 950, people were lighting fires underground specifically to melt the permanent ice and collect the water. In one of the driest landscapes on the continent, they found drinking water by starting fires inside a frozen volcano. That's not survival, that's engineering. Fact 15. The first wilderness on Earth. Ask anyone where the idea of protected wilderness began, and they'll guess Yellowstone or Yosemite. The answer is a stretch of southwestern New Mexico almost nobody can name. On June 3, 1924, at the urging of a young forester named Aldo Leopold, The Gila became the first area anywhere in the world officially designated as wilderness, 40 years before Congress passed the Wilderness Act. Today, it covers roughly 559,000 acres of canyons, cliffs, and river country with no roads and no machines. Every protected wilderness on this planet traces its bloodline back to a decision made about a quiet corner of New Mexico. Fact 14. The volcano that was never a mountain. Rising out of the flat desert of the Navajo Nation is a jagged black spire that looks like a ship under full sail, and it is one of the strangest objects in North America. Shiprock stands about 1,583 feet above the plain, and it is not a mountain. It is the frozen throat of a volcano that erupted around 27 million years ago. The truly unsettling part is that this thing originally formed roughly 3,000 feet underground. Everything you are looking at was once buried deep inside the earth, and only the slow stripping away of the entire landscape around it left this core standing exposed. Known to the Navajo as Tsebitai, the rock with wings, it is a sacred site where climbing has been forbidden for decades. You are not looking at a peak, you are looking at the inside of a volcano. Fact 13. The stone walls that run for miles. Look at Shiprock from the air, and something even stranger appears. Radiating out from the base are long, thin walls of black rock running dead straight across the desert. One of them stretching about 5 miles and rising as high as 150 feet, while being only a few feet wide at the top. These are dikes, sheets of magma that were forced into cracks underground and then hardened. Erosion peeled away everything softer and left them standing like ancient fortifications built by giants. The rock itself is a rare type called minette, formed by only a tiny amount of melting deep in the Earth's mantle. Those walls came from a place no human will ever see. Fact 12. The roads that lead nowhere. In a canyon in northwestern New Mexico, the ancestral Puebloans built something archaeologists still cannot fully explain. Radiating out from Chaco Canyon is a network of engineered roads totaling more than 400 miles, many of them around 30 feet wide, running in perfectly straight lines across mesas and canyons without ever bending for the terrain. Where a cliff blocked the path, they carved stairways straight down the rock face and picked the road up on the other side. The Great North Road runs about 35 miles, almost exactly due north, and then simply stops at the edge of a canyon. Researchers have found almost no wear, no debris, none of the signs a road actually used by travelers would leave. They built enormous highways, and it looks like nobody ever walked on them. Fact 11. The buildings that told time. The same canyon holds the largest structures ever built in North America until the 1800s. Pueblo Bonito contained close to 700 rooms and rose 4 or 5 stories, and its builders aligned it to the sky with an accuracy that's difficult to accept. The main wall runs so precisely north to south that at solar noon it casts no shadow at all, and the front of the complex lines up with sunrise and sunset on the equinoxes. They track not only the sun but the moon, including the lunar standstill cycle that takes over 18 years to complete, which means the alignment required generations of patient observation passed down through families. Around 1150 AD, they walked away from all of it. Nobody fully knows why. Fact 10. The cave nobody is allowed to enter. Underneath Carlsbad Caverns National Park lies a place almost no human being will ever see. Lechuguilla Cave plunges roughly 1,600 feet down, making it the deepest limestone cave in the country. And explorers have mapped over 150 miles of passages inside it. Until 1986, the world thought it was a small, insignificant pit. Cavers dug through the rubble at the entrance and broke into an enormous hidden system nobody knew existed. It has never been open to the public, and only around 100 approved scientists and explorers are permitted inside each year. One of the greatest caves on Earth was discovered in living memory, and you will almost certainly never be allowed in. Fact 9. the bacteria that were already immune. Here's the discovery from inside that cave that should stop you cold. Because Lechugia was sealed off from the surface for millions of years, the microbes living down there evolved in total isolation from the outside world, never encountering a human, a hospital, or a pharmacy. When scientists tested them, they found bacteria already resistant to modern antibiotics. Drugs invented in the 20th century, defeated by organisms that had never once been exposed to them. Some of the formations down there are so fragile that simply breathing on them destroys them. So every team carries out its own waste and wears clean gear. That cave has been quietly keeping secrets that rewrote what scientists thought they understood about drug resistance. Fact 8. The cave that acid built. Almost every famous cave on Earth was slowly dissolved by rainwater seeping through limestone. The Carlsbad caves were not. This system was carved out from below by sulfuric acid rising up through the rock, a violent chemical process that ate away enormous chambers from the inside. That is why the formations here are so unusual, including gypsum chandeliers hanging up to 20 feet long. The limestone itself began as a reef in a warm sea around 265 million years ago. New Mexico's most famous underground attraction was not gently sculpted by water, it was chemically dissolved by acid. Fact number 7. The white desert that is not sand. Everyone calls it white sand. It technically is not sand the way you are picturing it. The dunes at White Sands are made of gypsum, a mineral so rare in dune form because it normally dissolves in water and washes out to sea. And this is the largest gypsum dune field anywhere on the planet, covering around 275 square miles. The gypsum came from a shallow sea that covered New Mexico somewhere between 280 and 250 million years ago. The only reason it is still here is that the Tularosa Basin has no outlet, no river carrying anything away, so the mineral got trapped and had nowhere to go. A prehistoric ocean died in place and left its bones behind as a white desert. Fact 6. The vanished lake the size of the Great Salt Lake. The desert around those dunes looks like it has always been bone dry. During the last ice age, this entire basin held a massive body of fresh water called Lake Otero, covering roughly 1,600 square miles, comparable in scale to the Great Salt Lake in Utah today. Grasslands stretched for miles where there is now only white powder, and mammoths, giant ground sloths, dire wolves, camels, and American lions gathered along its shores. When the climate warmed, the lake evaporated, the wind ground the leftover crystals into fine grains, and the dunes were born. Every step you take out there is on the dried floor of a lake that hosted the Ice Age. Fact 5. The footprints that broke the timeline. This is the one that shook the scientific world. Preserved in that ancient lakebed are fossilized human footprints, and White Sands holds the largest collection of Ice Age fossil footprints found anywhere on Earth. When researchers dated them, the results landed between 21,000 and 23,000 years ago. That created a serious problem, because the accepted story held that humans didn't reach North America until somewhere around 13,000 to 16,000 years ago. These prints are thousands of years older than that. You can see tracks of a mother carrying a child and a person walking alongside a giant ground sloth. A patch of desert in New Mexico may have pushed the entire story of human arrival in the Americas back by thousands of years. Fact 4. The supervolcano in the Jemez Mountains. Everybody has heard about Yellowstone. Very few people know New Mexico has one too. In the mountains above Los Alamos sits the Valles Caldera, a bowl in the earth roughly 13.7 miles wide. And it isn't a valley, it's the collapsed scar of a cataclysm. Around 1.2 million years ago, a colossal eruption blasted out an enormous volume of rock and ash. An event so violent that the ash fell as far away as Iowa. When the magma chamber emptied out, the ground above it caved in, leaving a crater so wide that from inside it, it just looks like open grassland. Millions of tourists drive past a supervolcano every year, thinking they're looking at a meadow. Fact 3. The volcano that isn't finished. Here's the part that changes how that meadow feels. The Valles caldera is dormant, but geologists are careful to point out that it is not extinct. Hot springs still bubble at the surface and fumaroles vent boiling, sulfurous steam straight out of the ground, both signs of heat still moving beneath it. After the caldera collapsed, magma pushing up from below actually lifted the floor back up, raising a resurgent dome that now stands as Redondo Peak, over 11,000 feet high. The mountain in the middle of the crater was pushed up by the same system that made the crater. There's still a living engine down there, and it has erupted many times since. Fact 2. The 20 supervolcanoes nobody counts. One supervolcano is unsettling enough. New Mexico has been through far worse. According to the New Mexico Bureau of Geology, between roughly 37 and 25 million years ago, a cluster of about 20 supervolcanoes erupted across southwestern New Mexico, each of them throwing dozens to hundreds of cubic miles of ash into the sky and sending glowing ash flows racing across the landscape. That corner of the state was one of the most volcanically violent places on the entire planet. Today it's quiet ranch country and empty highway. 20 supervolcanoes went off in the same region, and there's no sign at the roadside telling you what you're driving through. Fact 1. The state that is tearing itself apart. Here's the biggest secret New Mexico is keeping, and it isn't in the past tense. Running the length of the state, from Colorado down through Albuquerque and on toward Mexico, is the Rio Grande Rift, a place where the continent itself is being pulled apart. This is one of only a handful of active continental rifts anywhere in the world. The same kind of feature that eventually tears land masses in two and lets oceans in. The crust has already been stretched dangerously thin to roughly 33 kilometers along the rift, while the ground on either side runs 45 to 50 kilometers thick. The river didn't carve this valley. The valley was ripped open first, and the river simply flowed into it. And the whole system is still active, revealed by earthquakes, hot springs, and volcanoes along its length. Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Taos, and Las Cruces all sit inside a crack in North America that is slowly, patiently pulling open. So the next time somebody tells you New Mexico is just desert and adobe, you'll know better. The ground out there is frozen, burning, hollow, and splitting, scarred by 20 supervolcanoes, printed with footprints that rewrote human history and quietly tearing itself in half while everyone drives over the top of it. All of it hiding in plain sight. And now, you're one of the few people who actually knows it's there. If this changed the way you see the place you live, stick around, because every state in this country is hiding something, and we're just getting started.